Hello, welcome to Prism Technologies. I am Venkat. This is part 13 of ASP.NET Gridview tutorial. In this video, we'll discuss about deleting data from Gridview using SQL Data Source Control. On this slide, you can see this Gridview control displaying employee data. Every employee data row has a delete button next to it. So when the user clicks this delete button, we want to show this client-side confirmation box. Are you sure you want to delete? This cannot be undone. Now when the user clicks on this OK button, that's when we should delete the row. If the user clicks cancel button, then nothing should happen. Let's see how to achieve this using SQL Data Source Control. So in the database, I have this table TBL employee which has got some sample data. First, let's see how to display the sample data in the Gridview control, and then we'll discuss about enabling the Gridview control to delete rows from it. So let's flip to Visual Studio. Let's drag and drop a Gridview control onto the web form. Let's auto format that. And let's drag and drop a SQL Data Source Control as well. Let's configure that. Let's select the connection string from web.config file. Let's click Next. The table name is TBL employee, so let's select that. We want to display all the columns in the Gridview control. So select star from TBL employee. Let's click Next. Test your query. Click Finish. So we are done configuring SQL Data Source Control. Now let's flip this web form to the source mode and look at the configuration of the SQL Data Source Control. It has got connection string and only the select statement, select star from TBL employee. Okay, now let's flip it back to design mode and let's associate the SQL Data Source Control with this Gridview control. And look at this, the moment I have done that, I get three options: enable paging, sorting, and selection, but I don't have an option to enable deleting. Okay, now let's go back to SQL Data Source Control and reconfigure this. Configure data source, our connection string there, click Next, TBL employee, select star from TBL employee is the query. Now on this wizard I have this advanced button, so let me click this advanced button and look at this. I have this option, generate, insert, update and delete statements. So when I check this box, this wizard is going to automatically generate insert, update and delete statements for me. It's going to write those SQL statements automatically. Now if you remember, in this employee table, employee ID is the primary key column. So that will be used, to generate the delete statement. So delete from TBL employee, where employee ID is equal to whatever is going to be the employee ID. Okay, so now let's flip back to Visual Studio. So let's select that generate, insert, update and delete statement. Look at this, the moment I check this box, I get another option here, use optimistic concurrency. So what's this use optimistic concurrency? We'll discuss about that in our next video session. For now, let's click OK and let's click Next, Finish. Now let's flip this web form to the source mode. Look at this, along with the select statement, I also have delete statement, insert command and update command, and then obviously corresponding parameters as well. Delete parameters, insert and update parameters. Now at the moment we only want to enable this Gridview control for delete operation, so I don't want the insert and update command. So let me go ahead and get rid of those commands. So insert command, and then let's delete the update command as well. Alright, so let's get rid of these insert parameters and update parameters. Okay, so if you look at the delete command, it says delete from TBL employee, where employee ID is equal to @employee ID. Okay, so @employee ID, that's the parameter. So we are using parameterized queries. So this parameter is going to get its value from employee ID column. Okay, and its data type is integer. Alright, so with this change now, if we flip the web form to the design mode and then if we go back to the Gridview control, look at this. I have this option now, enable deleting. And the moment I select enable deleting, look at this, it shows the delete button here. Okay, now if I flip the web form to the source mode, look at this. In the Gridview control, along with the bound fields which display, employee ID, name, gender and city, I also have a command field, okay, which is showing this delete link button. Now if you don't like the link button, if you want to change the button to something else, you can actually change that here. You can specify, button type. and then you can specify, okay, I don't want link button, I want a push button. You can select that, and if I do that and if I flip this web form to the design mode, look at that, I get a push button. Okay, but let's change it back to link button, the default one. Alright, so now if I go ahead and run this at this time, we should be able to delete the row from the database, when we click that delete button. But then we will not have any client-side confirmation box. Look at this. The moment I click on, let's click this sixth row, delete the sixth row. The moment I click that, look at that, it goes away. Now if I go back to SQL Server table, select star from that employee table, look at this, I don't have that row. Okay, it got deleted. But we want a client-side confirmation box as well, because delete is a dangerous operation. Once you delete that row, it cannot be undone. So it will be better if we show a confirmation to the user before we actually delete that row. So how do we do that? Now, in order to show the client-side confirmation, we need to inject JavaScript into this buttons on client click event. Okay, so on the client side, when I click the button, what should happen? We should show that JavaScript confirmation box. Okay, and in JavaScript we have a function called confirm function. Okay, this confirm function returns true if I click OK on this button, and if I click cancel, it's going to return false. Okay, let's see how to inject that JavaScript into that button control. Okay, to do that, obviously I'm going to use the data, row data bound event of this Gridview control. So right click on the Gridview control, go to the properties, and then within the properties of the Gridview control, click on this events icon, row data bound event. Let's generate the event handler. So if you look at this Gridview control, we have the delete button only next to data rows. I don't have it next to the header. Okay, so when I click the delete button next to data row, that's when I need to generate that client-side confirmation dialog box. So we need to check in the control, this row data bound event, if you remember, this will be raised for every row including the header. Okay, so if it is data row, so row type is equal to data control row type dot data row. So if it's going to be data row, then what we want to do, so within each data row, in the first cell, I have a control which is of type link button. So this is link button. So in the first row, so e dot row dot, in the first cell, cells of 0 dot controls of 0. So in this cell, I have one control which is link button. I want that first control. Okay, now look at this controls property. When I apply an index on that, it's going to return a control back. Okay, look at this, the moment I open the square bracket, it's going to return a control back. So let's store that in a variable of type control. So let's call it control, but we know that this control is actually a link button. Okay, now it's actually safe to check if it is a link button. So I'm going to check if control is link button. Then what I basically want to do, I want to typecast this control to be of type link button. So control, and let's typecast that to be of type link button, and every button control has got on client click property. Okay, so on client click event, basically when somebody clicks this on the client side, what we want to do, we want to inject that JavaScript which is going to show that client side confirmation box. So on client click, what do I want to do? I want to return the JavaScript function confirm, and then look at this, what message do we want to show? Are you sure you want to delete this cannot be undone? So let me copy that message and paste that there. So into that JavaScript function, I am passing this message. So this confirm function is going to display this dialog box with that message with OK and cancel button. When the user clicks on OK, it's going to return true. When the user clicks cancel, it's going to return false. So, and then we are saying whatever this function is going to return that value, true or false. So when this function returns true, we are returning true to on client click event. So that's when the web form will be posted to the server. If it returns false, then it will not post the web form back to the server. Okay, so it's as simple as that. So let's put a semicolon there, and that's it. Okay, now let's go ahead and run this. Let's close this web form. So now when we click this delete button, we should get a client-side confirmation box. Are you sure you want to delete? Look at this, I click the delete. The moment I do that, I get this confirmation. When I click cancel, nothing happens. But on the other hand, when I click OK, it should delete that row. Okay, very simple. In our next video session, we'll discuss about doing exactly the same thing but using Object Data Source Control. On this slide, you can find resources for ASP.NET, C# and SQL Server interview questions. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.